The Winona update brought more with it than meets the eye, folks. Sure, Clay dropped a fantastic cinematic filled to the brim with lore that will seemingly tie into the others to come, I'm sure, but they also made changes to the game as a whole. So today, in what will likely be our final judgment on it all, we will showcase and break down the newest inclusions and what they could possibly mean for the future of the game, and whether or not they got things off on the right foot. Let's get to it. As for an immediate change, we can now get daily gifts. Following the update, our logins will now reward the very gifts we receive while in the game, with no tweaks to the potential items we can get either. That being said, the item drop rates actually did get a change as a whole, and quite drastically too. The original rate saw incredibly low odds of obtaining even just spiffy gear, let alone the rarer stuff, and the common drop rates was really far too high. But as for the update, the new rates see a relative uptick in rarer loot potential, and I say it's about damn time. Clay needs to reward time played accordingly, and that is also why that now we can receive 8 gifts per the reset week instead of the original 4. So that is a very, very nice change. But our new and improved gifts are not the only presents worth opening nowadays. The Winona update also brought new items to the curio cabinet, and they are quite industrious. The new factory signpost is here, and when it comes to factory safety, the proper signage is always going to be key. Ever heard of the prospect of laying the pipe? Well, Beer does it all the time, but now he can get metal with it with the new pipe fencing skin. Interesting. We also get the factory portrait frame, a spiffy portrait frame at that. We will take a closer look at this later, but it already appears to be pretty cool, so I'm excited. Oh, then there's this, the factory signpost profile icon. So, sure, why not? While in-game, the factory signpost certainly does bring that little dreary industrial feel to it. Especially when the signs happen to insult your person all the dang time. And they do have that look that many other newly released things have. That kind of sorta look that it doesn't actually belong in the game due to the updated visuals, but still, pretty neat. And that extends to the pipe fencing as well. However, I will say that I do appreciate the look of them far more. They certainly stand out and have a distinct feel. But sadly, nothing really matches them at this time. It makes me want industrial-esque skins for far more structures, to be honest, so that we can theme up our bases and such without the need of any of the mods. I'll likely still use them with stone stuff because they kind of look good there, but man, why did we get a sign skin instead of walls, doors, or heck, just anything else really? But back to business with our icons and portrait frames, and let me tell ya, I love the new portrait frame, man. The old school vibe with the classic portal in the background with the Voxola feel all about, just stellar. Oh, and the signpost profile icon is a thing, I guess. Speaking of things, the heirloom elegant skins. What the heck are they? Well, put simply, they are just commemorative in a sense, because if you already had any of these skins before this particular character update, the skins automatically become an heirloom variant, and this will be the case with all the other reworks to come. Furthermore, each new character rework will bring a whole new skin for that character as well, and Winona's here is flippin' awesome. The skin is called the Industrious, and it sees Winona's classic red headband get a bit of a makeover with a Voxola branding to boot. And you can even get Voxola factory clothing for her too, like the one seen in that new cinematic. This is now my new favorite and new default Winona skin. It is so good. But let's talk something not so good, shall we? And it's Clay changing things for the worse. At first, Winona's speed crafting cost the player 5 hunger each, and we can see a significant speed decrease in crafting and placing come the threshold of 50 hunger and below. It was a great change as it called to question the impact of spam crafting for advanced players, gave weight to crafting as a whole as it was now entirely possible to die due to crafting too much or maybe even crafting at the wrong time or more, which also added layers to stat balancing not seen in the game before, and all in all, it was different. Now, once you speedcraft once and take the penalty, you can just speedcraft all you flippin' want as long as you keep on doing it. For you see, you no longer get penalized any hunger as long as you remain crafting in a certain time frame, a minute to be exact, and that window resets every time you craft something, and that's just stupid. Clay's tagline for Don't Starve and Don't Starve Together is that it's an unforgivable survival game experience. But by literally reverting their changes back to how they were prior to the change and making it easier, that is what? I mean, who complained? The new players? This is Don't Starve, people. The gameplay loop is spawn in, run about and learn as much as you can before you inevitably die, load a new world with your newfound knowledge, get further and learn more, die, and repeat. It's supposed to be hard, Clay, so keep it so. But that leads to the new additions, everyone, and first comes the juice of the operation, generators. Aesthetically, I think they are exactly what new structures should be, with unique animations for idling, added detail to effects around it, and more. These things have the distinctive looks and mechanics that separate themselves from pre-existing structures. And those distinctive looks and mechanics actually separate playstyles and characters as well, which is something Don't Starve Together desperately needs. If you tie specific and drastic change to a specific character, it brings diversity back to the game. And that only increases the longevity of said game. And that's what every developer wants. That being said, they could use some work, as they need to be more efficient. Specifically, the generator. Connect 4 powered machines to the normal generator to see a 1% drop in fuel every 5-ish seconds. But connect the same amount to a generator to net a 1% loss of fuel every 8-ish seconds. You see the problem? Yes, it is a little harder to make than the normal one. But considering the fuel, the fact that the supposed tier 2 generator only adds 3 extra seconds is highly questionable. Also, just because Clay worried about balance leads to us not having on and off switches for these things is like a really dumb excuse, but that is besides the point. How do we go about fixing them? Well, you give Winona and Winona only the ability to upgrade generators to higher tiers. Not craft them, upgrade into them using duct tape or other varied resources not yet used perhaps. And in doing so, the generators see more efficient outputs, greater ranges, and thus far more potential for more powered machines per generator, maybe even aesthetic changes, and more. Do I believe these changes are going to happen? Nope. Not at all, unfortunately, but I do think they should. New stuff is awesome, but they need to work, they need to have layers, and they need to drive gameplay further than initial discovery of what they can do. And the generators, as they are now, do not do so. But then what about the catapults? Well, personally, I think them just fine. The perfect range, the right amount of damage, sitting at not too much and not stupidly worthless, and a fine look to them as well. However, a few tweaks wouldn't hurt. Why not let us choose our ammo, like flinging some bee mines at the enemy for some fun gimmicks? That, or load the catapults up with knapsacks to add variety to our range combat mechanics. The point being, allow for upgradable catapults along with the generators as well. Have Winona and Winona alone be able to make adjustments for them to do more damage at the cost of range, or give them more range but lower output. Maybe even increase their DPS so they can fling faster, or give them the option of throwing flaming ammo or potentially even freezing enemies. If you are going to rework things, Clay, just change the formula up and think past the superficial. It's always better to do more than go backwards, not do little and try to go forward, because you already are going to lose people. The catapults are great, but just a couple more tweaks could have made them even greater. But what aren't great are spotlights. In fact, they are completely useless. Yes, Clay did increase the range of them since the update has released, but is that supposed to mean anything? I mean, just look at this. This makes no sense. I am a couple inches away from an object directly in the line of sight of a light source that is illuminating me, but not it. I understand it's a spotlight, but even still, it shouldn't operate like this. Why does it feel like the light is 40 feet in the air directed down on me when it's literally just on the ground and at the same height as me? And it barely even throws enough light anyway. It can't even cover 3 chests. And that's something a simple torch can do, and then some, with no questions asked. What's the point of placing these around if I can't even illuminate objects in my base better than what I can do right now? For me, the only way Clay makes these things work is through completely changing them. That, or just keep the spotlight, but allow Winona to upgrade or craft to a floodlight, a spotlight with a coned vision of light maybe some lights with colors, just something better than what we have now. Spotlights were a total failure, and it kind of makes me concerned for what else Clay has in store. Another mechanic that could have used addressing, her duct tape. Yes, it works as it always has, but perhaps it should do a little more. Maybe Winona can use it to repair structures, maybe even add stuff to them like she does in the cinematic. Upgrade things, build other things, etc. I know they are used in crafting her new machines, but just go beyond the superficial, man. Like I said before, these character reworks should be so drastic as to have us all contemplate the meta of the game with each new release. And it should all blend together. The change don't starve together into a whole new game. But if all we get is a week's worth of intrigue and experimentation, along then with reverts that Clay does to take away the potential distinguishing aspects of said reworks, then I question the point of them entirely. Be careful, Clay. Like many of us were saying before these new things arrived, this is the time to go big, exciting, over the top, new, and right. If you don't, folk are not gonna stick around for as long as you may wish them to. But there you have it, everyone. The Winona update, what was and perhaps should have been. I'm positive that opinions vary, so please let me know and let's discuss not only this update, but what the ones to come should do to correct the mistakes of this one here. But for now, take care, folks, and I hope all is well, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.